Hey everybody, Stephanie here from Instant Pot Basics and Beyond. Sorry if we got weird lighting today. I'm trying. This is not the ideal setup. We're going to get some better setup in the near future, I promise. Anyhow, so today we're going to talk about steaming veggies. So I want to get this started real quick and then we'll talk some more as we go through. So today I'm going to do a spaghetti squash. Whole, as is, in the Instant Pot. So here we go. We're going to remember, if you hit saute, it will start to heat things up and move things along a little faster. So today you need your trivet that hopefully your pot came with. So we're going to stick the trivet in the pot. We're going to remember we need a cup of water. So in with a cup of water. If you have the bigger, the 8-quart, I might recommend like a cup and a half of water. And then we're just going to take our squash and we're going to stick it in whole. Put the lid on. Remember, set your, actually I don't know what it's called, your venting knob to steaming, so push it back. And remember, it won't lock into place until it's come to pressure. So we're going to push that back. Now, we have to turn it off. We're going to do manual pressure for 12 minutes. So, then what it does is, so it says 12 minutes, as soon as it knows, it waits a minute to make sure that's really what you want it to do. It will then beep at you, it says on, and it will say on until it comes to pressure. Once it comes to pressure, it will set the time, or it will say the time you set, and then it will count down the minutes. As it's coming to pressure, it will sputter and make some steam and things like that. That's normal, just as it works to building pressure. Once it comes to pressure, sometimes you hear a little pop as the little lock mechanism pops up, the little silver button, and then you won't be able to open it, which is great because that means it's cooking. So let's talk about steaming vegetables. It's super awesome. You can do a whole spaghetti squash. You can do, I forgot to grab my pumpkin, but I've done like the sugar pie pumpkins, the little pumpkins. As long as it'll fit in your Instant Pot, you can do a whole pumpkin. You just pop it in there, let it steam, let it natural release. The skin peels off super easy. The other awesome thing about this, spaghetti squash can be hard to cut. They can be pretty firm. If you don't have good sharp knives or a nice steady work surface, it can be especially difficult and sometimes dangerous to cut through that really hard shell. By doing it this way, you don't have to worry about cutting a super hard squash. So that's nice. Same with the pumpkin. The other thing, also the skin, as it cools down, just like, or the flesh kind of pulls away from the skin, so you can just peel it super easy. So you might ask, what do I do with cooked spaghetti squash? Well, you can just eat it, for one. You can, once it's done, we'll take it out, you can cut it open, scoop the seeds and stuff out of it, and then you just, string it with a fork, and you just put like some butter, salt, and pepper on it, and you can just eat it. It's pretty tasty. If you're not into just eating straight up squash, which is okay, there are other things you can do. I will link some recipes. You can, my mom's done a dish like a million times, which is kind of like a carbonara style dish, which is like bacon and cheese, and you bake it, and then it's super yummy. You can also, if you don't want to, so at 12 minutes, it's going to be soft enough to just eat. If you maybe wanted to do some additional cooking, like the carbonara, if you want to then like slice it and roast it to get some of that like crispy caramelized yumminess that it makes vegetables amazing to eat, you could cook it for maybe just 10 minutes, and then once it's done, you can slice it, because it'll still be a little firm, and roast it. Again, if you're doing the carbonara, maybe you want it a little firmer since you're going to cook it again. The thing I actually don't always recommend with spaghetti squash is using it with pasta sauce in place of spaghetti noodles. I don't know if you've ever tried that. I tried it once with my family and they hated it. Not because it wasn't pasta, but because unlike pasta, it doesn't absorb any of the sauce. And so you got like liquidy sauce and this like squash, and it, like, you can eat the chunks with it, but then you just got sauce left on your plate that, unless you have garlic bread, you're just left with this puddle of sauce on your plate. So if you wanted to try like maybe a baked casserole, that might work. I haven't actually tried it, but you know, sometimes that's fun to experiment. So pumpkins, my favorite thing to do with pumpkins is I then make pumpkin pie out of them. So canned pumpkin that you get at the store is just pureed pumpkin. Like they cook a bunch of pumpkins and puree them and then can them. So I will cook a pumpkin and then make pumpkin pie out of it, or whatever you need pureed pumpkin for. I got my grocery store after Thanksgiving this year had the pie pumpkins on sale for like 50 cents a piece. It's cheaper than a can of pumpkin. You just throw them in your Instant Pot. Those, I think I cooked mine for like probably the same, like 10-12 minutes. Bam, you got pumpkin. I think mine I did puree with my immersion blender just to make sure it was all smooth and stuff, because they can sometimes be stringy depending on the pumpkin. Other things, veggies we can steam. My mom was just telling me today that fresh green beans, so you just snap them, throw them in, that like with the hard-boiled eggs, I'd use a steamer basket just so they're kind of contained and not all over the place in there. Cook them for a minute, do a quick release, super delish. Super easy. Probably takes longer to prep the beans than to cook them in there. And you think, why am I going to drag out my Instant Pot to cook green beans? Because it's fast, it's easy, you don't have to pay, well I guess maybe you do have to pay attention because they're only going to be in there for a minute. But they cook all super evenly and you don't have to fiddle and fuss with them like you do when they're on the stove. That's one of the things I love about the Instant Pot, because as I always say, not everything is faster. Not everything is faster. This obviously is faster than trying to cook it in the oven. But sometimes, like, you just don't have to pay attention to it. You just put it in there and you ignore it. You can't do anything to it. It's locked. And it doesn't take up a burner on your stove. Sometimes it's just nice to, like, you need another burner, and so you throw it in your Instant Pot. The other thing I love doing are, like, baked potatoes and sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes, I mean, especially if you get big ones, they take forever in the oven. Man, they take forever. But you throw them in the Instant Pot. The big fat ones I do for like 20-25 minutes. You can do skinnier ones in like 10-12 minutes. And again, you can pile them all in there as long as it doesn't as long as you can put the lid on, you're fine. So you just pile them all up in there on top of each other. I kind of like to crisscross them just to give them some circulation. I don't know if it matters. But you just put a bunch of potatoes in there, or sweet potatoes. Like you can see the steam. That's normal. It's normal. It's making noise, steam releasing. It's all okay. But yeah, potatoes. And you can have them done in a fraction of the time it takes. And in fact, I did baked potatoes in my Instant Pot the other night for dinner with chili on top. And my husband is not opposed to eating potato peel. But he went to pick his up, and like the peel just like boop, just totally separated right off the potato. So it's kind of cool if you want them easier to peel. I will, if I'm making potato salad, sometimes it's way faster to pop them in here, and then they're all easy to peel. I'm trying to think, what else do I do? What else? I was hoping to talk long enough that I could show you this when it was done, but I don't think I have that much to say about steaming veggies. So this is almost come to pressure. So quick recap, and then I'll hop back on here when it's done and I can show you about getting it out of the Instant Pot. This one I'm going to let natural release. So again, what that means is once it's counted down, it will then say L, and it will have time, and it will start counting up, and that's the amount of time that it's kind of been on low to maintain some heat while the pressure reduces. Some recipes will tell you a specific amount of time you need to leave it, and then you can pop it open. But this we're just going to let go until it's released that we can open it, which generally takes 10 to 15 minutes. Anyhow, so you pull it out, and then you so this one then we'll cut open, scoop the seeds out, and like I said, then you're ready to do whatever you want with it. Sometimes getting them out of the Instant Pot can be a little bit tricky. I was at my uncle's the other day, and he'd baked, done all these sweet potatoes, and they were very soft. And he's trying to with the tongs scoop them out without having them mush all over the bottom of the Instant Pot. But which is nice, because who wants rock hard sweet potatoes? Nobody. Okay, I think that's enough rambling in this video about this. So, when we are recapping. Cup of water, because you gotta have something to create steam. Put them on your trivet. Stick it in there, put the lid on, set it to ceiling, 12 minutes, let it go. I will go ahead and link some of the things I've talked about that you can make with a spaghetti squash. If I can find them too, I will also find some links maybe of time suggestions or things to do with potatoes and whatnot. And again, if you have a really big spaghetti squash, and it won't fit, you can always cut it in a couple pieces, and maybe it might even cook a little more evenly that way. This cooks pretty evenly though in the Instant Pot all the way around. So that's all for now. Be sure to like this video. We have a YouTube channel, so like and subscribe on YouTube so you can see all the cool things and my super awesome lighting going on. Sorry. We're gonna get better, I promise. And we've got some really awesome, like, quick meals, like dump it in, turn it on, set it, done, you know, in a short period of time coming up for you soon.